I call the honourable member for Dirac.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Australians are very fortunate to live in a country where their government provides key welfare services to support those who are unable to provide for themselves. We have a welfare system that is dedicated to providing a helping hand through financial funding measures. The Department of Human Services is responsible for providing every Australian man, woman and child with access to significant services that we all should be thankful for. This includes services such as Medicare, Centrelink and child support. We are indeed a fortunate country. However, there are regrettably some who will abuse a system that was created for the good of the people. The Social Security Legislation Amendment, Stronger Penalties for Serious Failures Bill 2014, aims to strengthen the compliance framework for job seekers who receive taxpayer-funded income support through services such as New Start Allowance and for other people, youth allowance, parenting payments or special benefit payments. To receive financial help via one of these payment methods, job seekers are expected to actively look for work, undertake activities to improve their job prospects and take up a suitable job offer. Deputy Speaker, what I've heard from the other side in this debate is that we all agree that jobs are the answer. But Deputy Speaker, unfortunately, what the Abbott government has found is that there are a significant amount of job seekers who are taking serious advantage of our welfare system. They are taking advantage of penalty waivers that were introduced by the former government to avoid contributing to the Australian economy and our society by undertaking a suitable employment opportunity. Deputy Speaker, government cannot afford to be a cash cow for those who simply won't take steps to work. We all need to contribute to Australia's economy and our nation's future growth. There are, of course, those who need government support, as they are unable to gain or hold employment for various reasons, such as medical constraints. The government understands this, and I support that, and that is why we have significant welfare practices in place to lend a helping hand and support for those who need it most. However, those that are able to gain and hold a job but are simply unwilling, however, should not receive this same government support. Under the former Labor government, we saw many cash splashes without any thought to the consequences. Who could forget Labor's $900 stimulus payments, which saw more than 16,000 payments being sent to taxpayers living overseas, totalling around $14 million, all borrowed money. If this wasn't bad enough, Labor's policy blunder also allowed more than 21,000 payments to be made to deceased taxpayers, totalling more than $18 million. Again, more borrowed money. That is why the Abbott government introduced legislation to repeal the Tax Bonus for Working Australians Act to ensure these payments ceased. Deputy Speaker, the consequences of the former government's weakening of rules regarding the application of penalties for serious failures to comply with the rules for job seekers to receive tax-funded payments are also clear. Deputy Speaker, in 2012-13 there were 1,718 serious failures for refusing a job, of which the penalty was waived in 68% of cases. If that wasn't bad enough, in the same year there were 25,286 serious failures for repeated non-compliance, and of this the penalty was waived in only 73% of cases. Is it any wonder these supposed job seekers didn't comply with the rules under the former government? Why would they, when rules are brushed aside and they were able to continue receiving payments from the government for doing nothing? This isn't just absurd, it's a shocking reflection on Australia's welfare system. It is shocking because it is taking money away from those Australians who truly need it and putting it in the pockets of those who do not have a reasonable excuse not to work. The Abbott government's move to strengthen compliance measures for job seekers should be commended by all who stand in this place. When we think about the distribution of funding by government, those in this place must think first and foremost about who this funding was intended to benefit and must then determine whether this is being achieved in practice. In its current form, the Social Security Administration Act 1999 is not achieving its objectives, and when objectives aren't being met, amendments need to be made. The bill before the House today will achieve this. It will introduce a more rigorous approach to the application of penalties to job seekers who refuse a job offer, including by failing to commence the job, who are persistently non-compliant. By strengthening the 8-week non-penalty payment for non-compliance, the government will be sending a clear message The days of handouts are over. We will achieve this by implementing new measures that ensure those job seekers who refuse or fail to commence work without good reason are no longer able to have the penalty waived under any circumstances. Instead, they will be required to serve the 8-week penalty in full. Previously, job seekers could have the penalty waived through engaging in an alternative activity, such as intensive job search or training. Deputy Speaker, by passing this bill, those in this place will ensure that those who are persistently and wilfully non-compliant, such as repeatedly failing to attend appointments with their employment service providers, may only have the non-payment penalty waived once, while in receipt of an activity-tested income support payment. By tightening these rules, the government will administer estimated net savings to a total of some $20 million by 2017-18. Deputy Speaker, money that instead of being spent on those who refuse to gain employment is instead being spent on those who need it most and do the right thing by government and every Australian taxpayer. At 31st of December 2013, around 11% of job seekers... OK, you had your go, now it's my turn. Around 11% of job seekers had been reported 3 or more times during the 12 months for non-compliance. This accounted for 71% of all non-compliance reports. This clearly depicts the need to implement stronger deterrence, particularly for those job seekers who take advantage of Australian taxpayers by repeatedly failing to comply with the guidelines of income support payments. These people should not be allowed to refuse a suitable job offer and continue to receive welfare payments from government. The only way to improve this bad behaviour is to ensure there are financial consequences for non-compliers, rather than simply letting them get away with not working through the former government's penalty waiver system. Deputy Speaker, the introduction of waiver provisions by the former government in 2009 has had a significant negative effect on the provision of this service, with 644 penalties applied for refusing work in 2008-9 compared to 1,718 in 2012-13. These are people who have been assessed and deemed capable to work but are simply refusing to do so. It is important to note that checks and balances will be applied by the Department of Human Services when determining whether a job seeker has failed to comply with income payment requirements. Deputy Speaker, the Department will continue to be required to talk to the job seeker's employment service provider and the employer who offered the work before imposing an 8-week serious failure period. Also, before a decision maker determines that a job seeker has committed a serious failure due to persistent non-compliance, the decision maker must conduct a comprehensive compliance assessment. These checks and balances will ensure the 8-week penalty does not impact on those job seekers who, despite their best efforts, cannot get work. It targets those who are offered suitable work but refuse to engage in that employment opportunity without a reasonable excuse. There is a clear expectation throughout Australia that to receive a taxpayer-funded financial payment from the government, unemployed people should be expected at all times to demonstrate that they are actively looking for work or undertaking activities to improve their employment prospects. I was disappointed to note that Western Australia recorded the second highest number of people who were issued with an 8-week non-payment penalty for non-compliance from 1 July to 30 June 2013. 4,642 penalties were issued during that same period compared to 930 in Tasmania, which recorded the lowest number. It was also disappointing to note that Western Australia recorded the third highest no-show, no-pay financial penalty. Although the amendments before the House today do not seek to change the no-show, no-pay penalty, this framework for assessing non-compliance by the Department of Human Services is also important to note. The consequence of a no-show, no-pay failure is the application of a penalty amount equivalent to 1 working day of a person's payment. This is applied if a job seeker fails to do one of the following without a reasonable excuse: attend an activity that they are required to attend on a particular day, to behave appropriately while participating in an activity, fails to attend a job interview, or intentionally acts in a manner during a job interview that may result in an offer of employment not being made. This penalty was issued in Western Australia 7,271 times in this same 2012-13 financial year period. These statistics clearly show that non-compliance is happening far too often throughout Australia. The worst cases, of course, are those that are regularly issued with non-compliance penalties but simply have this waived due to the former government's weakening of rules regarding the application of penalties for serious failures. The Australian people expect their taxpayer dollars to go towards policy measures that improve our community and benefit Australia as a whole. In its current
Order,
form,
the debate is interrupted.